Here you go, Tannen. That's how it's done. First, the pants. White belt, contrast. Second, make sure you have these clubs easily 15 years old. Make sure they're worn in, nice and vintage. Second, don't even freaking line up. Don't even think about it. Just think about it. Just visualize. Use your mental acuity to just go ahead. Absolute. Rip it. Fucking grip.
Yeah, that was a good drive.
Well, I work hard. How come everybody wants to shuffle my cards? And I think that it's true. There's nothing of importance on the 6 o'clock news, and I believe that
Step into Kayfabe Cards, your ultimate destinations for all things tabletop in Riverton, Utah. Uniting enthusiasts under one roof, we proudly showcase Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, Magic, Weiss, and One Piece, a gateway into an exhilarating universe of gaming. Immerse yourselves in our diverse products, including a very squishy array of Japanese plushies and the excitement of Gashapon machines. Our expansive play area invites you to duel in epic battles and forge unbreakable bonds with your fellow players. We open our doors every day at noon, embracing a realm where cards come alive and unforgettable moments are forged. Come join us at Kayfabe Cards.
Instant Speed approaches its 100th episode, and I thank you guys so much for this journey that I've been on, but I want to invite you to contribute for that very special 100th episode, so I'm doing a call out to you, the community. Yes, you, even you. If you want a question for me to be answered on our 100th episode, you can do so by recording a 30-second or less video of yourself asking the question and send it to me at instantspeedpodcast@gmail.com or however else you want to send it to me. We can figure it out. And I will get that played on the 100th episode. Be creative, be weird, but be genuine. Ask me anything. Cards, life, love, all the curiosities in between. Instant Speed 100 is about you and what you want to hear. Thank you so much. The Instant Speed Podcast welcomes a rising star within the Flesh and Blood community. He is an established caster, content creator, and competitive player. Don't give me that, like, so-so, you're not sure about it. Come on, right?
I don't. All three of those titles, I'm not so sure about anymore. But anyway,
Let me get through this before you call me completely a liar here. But regardless, this is somebody who definitely provides a lot of insight to the casting booth and a lot of class. Welcome to the show, Pankaj, aka EthnicSmoke. Welcome, friend.
Thank you so much for having me on, and yeah, glad to be here.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure indeed. Of course, we're going to get to some more of the nitty-gritty of meta and worlds, etc. But the first thing I want to ask you about is this name, EthnicSmoke. Because, listen, like, I'm Flake. I've been Flake for like 25 plus years. It was a name given to me when I was like 12 or 13 in a Star Wars gaming community. It stuck. What the hell is EthnicSmoke?
Okay, so the origin story for the name EthnicSmoke actually comes from a drinking game. Have you watched Aladdin? The Aladdin, as a lot of people pronounce. But
hey, we
I
do
pronounce Aladdin.
do things the Western way here. Like the cartoon. Like I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the genie in the lamp and everything.
Yeah.
So I was playing a drinking game with some college friends. And one of the rules for the drinking game was drink whenever there's ethnic smoke on the screen, which was just such a hilarious rule. And like when we started, I was like, I don't know what this rule means. And then the movie starts and you instantly get it. Like you instantly know what it means for there to be ethnic smoke on the screen. And I found it hilarious. And I was like, this, and at the time I was looking for a new gamer tag anyway. I was like, this is it. I'm just gonna be ethnic smoke.
I like, what's a scene where the ethnic smoke is like very prominent? Because I want to go back. I have Disney Plus. I can definitely go take a look at this and pinpoint the origin.
I'm pretty sure right at the title card itself, like the way the smoke is drawn and stuff, you're like, yeah, you know what? I understand what ethnic smoke means. So yeah, yeah. Just to add on a bit more. So what is actually really ridiculous? I only realized after someone pointed out to me, this is like 2 years after I came up with the name, after I used that as my name, started a bit of content creation and stuff. Only 2 years later, someone asked me, "Oh, I just assumed it was because you were Indian," and it was then it hit me that, oh my god, people are gonna think that, because I did not realize for the entire time that people might think that ethics are anything to do with my race. It's because I was like, oh, it's from the drinking game. It was a hilarious little rule, and then suddenly this happened. I was like, oh no. Because this is not part of like the gamer tag identity I want to put, but just inadvertently just put me in there. So
Yeah, I got lucky.
Now I have to live with it.
For me, it was either Flake or the White Knight, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna go with Flake because for exactly the same rules that you're concerned about today. But there we go. I mean, that like everybody's gamer tag is fascinating to me because a lot of the times it's just like it's spawned. It's either bestowed upon you or it's like spawns out of the most obscure, just toss away moments, like you said. Like, and how long have you been EthnicSmoke?
Oh man, when was that? I think it was my 3rd year of college when I changed it to that. When was that? 2019? That was 2019.
Okay, so a decent chunk.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's established. You're there. It's 4 years. I mean, that's a presidential term. That's pretty good.
Yeah, don't ask me what it was before that.
Now we need to know. It's either you forgot about it or you're embarrassed. But in either case, I need to know now.
Okay, so all right, so my actual name is Pankaj, right? But I like to. It's a little difficult for people to pronounce. I like to joke that my friends back home can only say the first syllable. So a lot of times, growing up, my nickname was like Punk, or sometimes just Pank. So I had to play on that, and I wanted just a ridiculous gamer tag name. So before EthnicSmoke, my gamer tag, if you ever played Dota and you came across his name, that was me. It was SpankDog2000. And the dog was DAWG. I was like, I wanted Pank in there somehow. I was like, this is it. Like,
SpankDog2000, is that what it was?
That's what it was.
This has been now etched into my mind. This is all you are to me. And like, we've worked together. You're on this podcast, SpankDog2000, but this is it now. You are SpankDog2000, and I sincerely hope that somebody, when they run into you at an event now, like when they sit across from you at a table or they run past you and they're like, "Hey, can you sign my my playmat, SpankDog2000?" And that's it now. You are SpankDog2000.
Sending me back to my roots. But yeah, you can see why I was in search for a new name when EthnicSmoke, just spawned.
Well, yeah. Ask anybody what their first ever email address was. Like people my age or older, like the first email address that, like if you got email while you were in your formative years of high school, like your email address is very, very indicative of things that you're into. Like there's going to be X's and underscores and 69s and stuff in there. But yeah, we've all now just turned into I am first name dot last name at Gmail, and that's what it will be forever. So. Okay.
I have a much more formal Gmail.
So you and I, besides working together at Nats, got to have a great dinner with a lot of the crew at Benihana's at the Westgate. But the fun part about that was I was a passenger in a conversation where you guys took quite the scenic route around Baldur's Gate 3. And holy hell, as somebody who doesn't play RPGs, I really don't play RPGs. Just listening to it was you and Red Zone Rogue, I believe, talking about it and be like, "Did you go past this? Did you do this? Did you forget about this?" And I'm just there. I was like, "This is exciting." So one of the first questions we got from the Tech Club Foundry was, "Does playing Baldur's Gate make you better at Flesh and Blood?" So we need to just make sure that is squared away first and foremost.
So the answer is yes, and I will be offering no more elaboration at this time.
Really? Is this this is part of your masterclass? This is a tier 3 subscriber. Yeah, I get you.
No, I mean, the short answer, no. But I do think how into Baldur's Gate I got over this past period helped somewhat. I finally played at a PTI event, just because it kind of just, I guess, put the pressure off, because I was like, I haven't been practicing that much. My mind's just been mostly Baldur's Gate. As I was playing, I was just felt a lot more free. Whereas previously, when you trained really hard for like a tournament, to some extent, there's a level of expectations they sort of put in yourself, a little pressure that you put in yourself, which I found that I didn't have for this event. And I do attribute a bit of that to just being addicted to Baldur's Gate, basically. But no, I wouldn't recommend, if you're trying to train for Worlds or something, that you go put 200 hours into Baldur's Gate and expect that's going to make you a better player. Definitely not.
No, go listen to like a Yuki Lee Bender like masterclass or something that she does there. Like do that. That's a better investment in your time, at least from the capacity of improving as a fab player. But I mean, I know nothing about Baldur's Gate until you explained it to me. They're like, "Oh, are you into D&D?" It's basically like an RPG of D&D. But again, I'm not even a D&D person. So sell Baldur's Gate to me if you can, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening and be like, "I've heard of this, so sell it to us."
Okay, so if you've ever liked the idea of D&D, but you couldn't get a consistent group together, also get a group together where everyone is equally passionate about the game as you are, because sometimes that kind of dynamic does affect how much you enjoy the game. Like games like D&D, certain types of board games, you need everyone to be like really, really into it to maximize the experience. Whereas even if there's one or two people who are kind of like just there but don't really care about what's happening, it kind of does derail from the entire experience. So imagine you get that, but it's like just you, and you get to play on your schedule, and you don't need to work with the schedule of like 3 or 4 other people. And if you just like the idea of a fantasy RPG setting where it is very, very open-ended in the way that you can tackle encounters and tackle the story, you can also the story is very, very open-ended in the way like it has a lot of branching paths and stuff. So if all that sounds cool to you, then this is definitely the game for you.
It's funny because it seems to me like, which is sometimes true about most group-related experience, that the worst or hardest part to reconcile are the people that are involved. Like that can honestly be the biggest challenge, are the people surrounding it. So I never did D&D. I did some other iteration of like that kind of role-playing, but I was thrust into a campaign like as a replacement. I built my character. My character was a bard. His name was items that I had.
I can see that.
Yeah, it was literally items that were in eye shot of me. So my name was Samsonite of Crest. I had a piece of luggage and my toothpaste. So that was who I was.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was Samsonite of Crest. Don't ask me what Crest was. It was just that's who I was. Problem was that like I was midway through a story, everybody's talking about everything going on and remembering this and don't forget about this and this and that, and I'm like, this is my first time. They're like, roll for initiative. I'm like, what the does that mean? I have no idea what that means. So it was not a very pleasant experience, not because they were bad at it or whatnot, but I just felt like you said, like if I'm playing Baldur's Gate and everybody is essentially an extension of my own passion and I guess how adept I am at this game, then yeah, that feels a little bit better. But yeah, people are usually the worst at everything.
Well, at the same time, I will say that if you do find a group of friends where you can play one of these board games with, I mean, that is also an experience. That's an experience I wouldn't give up, even for like, another like 3 Baldur's Gate. So, for example, like every time I go back home, I have this tradition. I play. Have you heard of? I'm sure you've heard of the game Risk.
Yes, of course.
Have you heard of Risk 2210 AD?
Isn't there like you can go to the moon and stuff?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I have seen this. Yes, I have.
Yep. So every time I go home, I have a tradition with 3 other friends, 4 of us. We will spend one night where we stay up till like 4 or 5 a.m. because it's like a 7-hour game, right? And like we have jobs and stuff. So usually it's a weekend. We meet at night and we plan like 4 or 5 a.m. This Risk 2210 AD game, and it's the same 4 of us every single time I go back home, and it is absolutely amazing. And I wouldn't give that up for something I know about this game. And it's a sort of night where we always leave the night and none of us are friends anymore. But yeah, it's so good.
Well, we stopped playing because for precisely the reasons that we used to play Risk a lot, and it was the same thing because the same people that you're like, I grew up with you, you're my brothers, you're my friends, you're like my family, I trust you with my life, except for the fact that your dudes are right right next to the like you are straight up looking at Alaska, and I am not like, and they're like, no, I told you we have an alliance, we have a treaty where I'm not I don't want North America until we get rid of green. And I'm like, bitch, please, you keep dropping armies there, don't act like I don't fucking know. So there's like this big arms race, nobody likes each other, and then that's how it usually ends. It's like hours later. And like usually the person who gets knocked out first is usually the most bitter, but they had it easy. It's like a mercy killing. It's like you get to go home at a reasonable hour and not be part of this meltdown. But besides Baldur's Gate, besides the fact that you're just continue to progress in your casting career, your professional and competitive Flesh and Blood career, you have a day job, and it's. This is what I do, and I'm always scarce for time. For yourself, what is that day job? Because we had a great conversation about it over dinner, and it's pretty demanding. And the fact that you can balance all this is quite impressive. So let people know who might not know what day-to-day Pankaj is.
So I'm a software engineer. I'd rather just not say, I guess, where I work, just because, But yeah, as a software engineer by day, so pretty standard like desk job from like 9 to 5, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less. But yeah, that's my day job. But yeah, when you talk about like trying to balance that with Flesh and Blood and stuff, I mean, that's kind of where, when you started the episode and you particularly use the term content creator, I think that's where I'm a little bit like, I feel like that has taken a hit. Especially since I've started casting. Like now that I've started, traveling a lot more for casting, usually my weekends now get occupied by that. I'm flying and stuff, and just the energy that goes into that. That is kind of why my content kind of has slowed down a lot, to the point where sometimes I feel like I'm not sure if I'm deserving of the term content creator anymore. I feel like it's transitioned into caster and then also sometimes competitive player.
Well, you do create content to that degree, and I get what you're saying, because it's very difficult to maintain a schedule, especially when you're doing that you're doing the day job thing as well. That's how I got into it myself. Was I had the same thing. It was like worked all day. I got home around like 6 or 6:30. I would shove food in my face and then stream from like 7 to 10 p.m. every day religiously, until like you get a chance, or you get some sort of establishment of your persona. But for yourself, it seems like we just know you from this, and it's important for people to understand where some of the questions we got were like, hey dude, like when's your next video, when are you going to go back to content creation? It's not necessarily like the desire's gone or the passion's dissipated. It's more so that you just don't have the real estate to focus on that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I definitely do miss doing my replay analysis videos, but it's just I think another thing for me that I really strived for was consistency in my content. So when I started content creation, I was very, very adamant. I was like, once a week I need to put out a video. I'll put out a video or a stream, So like it was mostly videos. Like once a week I need to do that at a minimum. Like that was just for me to. It was like a little rule I made for myself, and I feel like now that I'm being more involved in casting and stuff, it's just hard for me to adhere to that. And I kind of don't like the idea of just putting out content like inconsistently, like in a very disparate manner. So that's kind of what it comes down to. I was like, I don't think I could do it consistently enough to the point where I'll be able to do it to sort of level, like what I expect of myself if I want to be a content creator. I expect myself to be consistent, and I just don't think I can commit to that. That's just it. It's a real estate thing, as you very rightly put it.
Well, the next question is essentially what I mean. This might be selfish for myself or for the other people out there who get a lot of joy from what you contribute to Flesh and Blood, but is this ever a consideration for you where you walk away from that day job, or you walk away from that, your successful career in software development to focus on this? And look, I say this as a person who made that jump, but I wouldn't say I was ultimately like super successful in that previous job. It was on that trajectory, but this was my passion. This was my life. I had to take this chance. But for you, does that ever creep into your psyche? Does that ever wake you up in the middle of the night and being like, what if I can do this full time? What if I did, quit my job and say, I'm going to give this a go for, 12 to 18 months and see what happens?
It definitely has. I've definitely considered it. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, obviously, you know that you went through that, and honestly, huge props that you made that jump. That's a lot of guts to like do something like that. And yeah, I guess for me, I guess with not fighting back words and stuff. Like my day was pretty decent, right? Like software engineering is a pretty decent job. So just to give that up and to like jump into full-time content creation feels very terrifying. Where I was like, I feel like it could be cool. I'm just not entirely sure. I would need to be convinced of a little more certainty, I feel, before I make that jump. I guess is like where I sort of came down to. I was like, I think I could see myself doing that. It's creeped into my head. But yeah, the lack of certainty has obviously prevented me from making that jump.
For me, just to put this into perspective, because you're absolutely right. Because if you're unsure or there's any shred of doubt, it becomes a very terrifying endeavor. On my end, it was not a choice. It was merely, this was the outcome. It was just a matter of being able to get there. And like you said, like it's difficult when you can't just pull the chute and jump out of the plane and say, like, I'm done with this. You need to have the parachute on. You need to have the safety net. You need to be over friendly territory when you do this. Like, there's a lot of ducks that you have to have in a row, which when I made the conscious decision that this was what I wanted to do, it was not until another, I'd say 12 to 14 months afterwards, where I did finally tell my bosses that I was resigning. And those 12 to 14 months, it was excruciating in the sense that I was like, I still have to do this, even though I don't want to do it. But it was also a matter of like, we're coming towards that end of the road. I just need to make X amount more dollars. I need to put these things squared away. I need to have this type of guarantee in my back pocket. And there's a lot that had to be given up and sacrificed for that on my side. And
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I want to ask for you is, you are where essentially I was when I was wanting to explore this field. But at the same time, there was a lot that I had to give up and sacrifice. And for you, maybe there's a lot of people who don't understand or realize what you're sacrificing for this, because they see you casting really well at these major tournaments. They see your content, but then again, you're also working as a software engineer, all this time. You're traveling, you're doing all this other stuff. There's got to be some things that you're leaving on the table, and you don't have to dig it too deep into it, but it's nice for people out there to know what people like yourself, like myself, like all the other content creators, what we're leaving on the table in order to do this.
Yeah. Leaving on the table. I'm not entirely. Probably need to think a little bit more of like, I guess, what I'm leaving on the table. I guess that makes me think of like opportunity cost. Like, obviously, we make content and all this, and it's not. You are potentially giving up that time that you could be doing other things with. That's like the opportunity cost. But other than that, I guess what I would like to touch on is sort of the understanding you might need to seek from people close to you. So for that, I mean, kind of huge props to like my partner. I'm dating someone, and she is very, very understanding. Like when I tell her that, especially when I was making weekly content, or now that I'm traveling a lot for Costa, is get a lot of understanding from her that I'm sort of taking this time to do this stuff, which obviously, along with the day job, means that, time is being taken away from like potentially being devoted to like the relationship, and then that extends to like, family and like friends and stuff. So lots of understanding is required from people close to you, and I'm very, very grateful that I do have people around me who do understand that this is something I'm very, very, very passionate about, and this is something that I'm, putting a lot of time and frankly, like effort, right? I'm putting in. We all are putting a lot of effort into this, so that obviously helps for people around you to understand. Like, this isn't just like a fad. It's like, no, wait, this is like something that matters to you. But at the same time, yeah, you do need to request that from your parents, your siblings, your partners if you have them, and yeah. So
That's.
yeah.
I'm glad that you landed on that, because that was I don't want to say that's where I was kind of leading towards, but it is a major element to it, was just relationships in general. The friendships that you have, that you might not be able to attend everything because you have to, like travel on a weekend or do a video or do this or attend an event or something like that. And then the other half of this is legitimately like if you do have a partner, and what they are then sacrificing or supporting, like to support you in that endeavor. So I'm glad that your partner is I say allowing you, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
It's like that is it's super important, because I legitimately I have dated girls in the past where the worst one that ended the relationship on the spot, I'm not kidding you, like on the spot, was we were having we had gone out, we went to dinner, we went to a baseball game, and we were like heading back, and she wanted to do other stuff, and I said, well, I have to get back because I have to be up early. And then that became a little bit of an argument, and this is what ended it. This sentence was her saying, well, it'd be nice if if I had something for me, because I let you do all the things like play card games and stream and stuff. And I was like, you let me? I was like, well, we're just gonna, yeah. So
I thought you were gonna say something like, oh, you suggested we watch Star Wars for the 20th time, and that ended it. No, okay.
Well, if the event that she wanted to go to was a screening of Star Wars, I would have dropped everything. I'd be like, marry me now. Like, that's no problem. For the 20th time, let's do this. But no, like again.
But yeah.
The sacrifices involved are very important, and they're far-reaching, and I just say this because it's important for people to understand that the efforts that you put into it stretch beyond just what they tangibly see, like the videos and you on screen. So thank you for doing that kind of stuff, because it's very enriching to the community, and it has stretched beyond just what we see here, because now that you are going to be going to Barcelona. So tell us about tell us about that. Tell us about Barcelona.
Yeah, so I was not expecting this. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't even expecting nationals. But yeah, I guess a few weeks ago, Alyssa did reach out and asked me and offered me a casting position at Worlds this year. So that was it was extremely exciting. And I just saw like the title of the email. It was like Worlds 2023 casting opportunity. Like my heart skipped a beat. I was like, wait, what? I was like absolutely not expecting this. So yeah, that happened. And I had to work some stuff out and make the schedule work and everything. But yeah, long story short, I will be casting at Worlds. So right next to you, Flake. And maybe this time they'll put us in a booth together. And that'll be a fun time. But yeah, that is... I'll see you at Barcelona.
I think I don't know if that's Brian Gottlieb's doing, but at Nationals, Brian did his best to avoid me at all costs. And I don't blame him, because him and I guess we've worked together a bunch of times, and every time that he's in the booth with me, there's always a moment where he kind of just looks over to me and be like, "Are you serious right now?" And I'm just like, "Yes, I am." So listen. I'm super excited, obviously, because I get to go and I'm going to be casting and doing stuff too. But like, to have you there, and what I think that people need to understand is that this is something that you've certainly earned, and not that there are others out there who are not deserving, but you are certainly somebody who has established themselves as such an insightful, articulate, and well-rounded broadcaster within this field, and it's important to have people of your caliber there. So I just wanted to squeeze it out of you as a selfish podcast host, so I get all the views and clicks on this announcement. That's what I want.
That sounds good. I mean, I wasn't going to make a video about it anyway, so yes, you can have it. But also, I mean, thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot coming from you. I mean, when I first started the game, I was like watching stream games of like of Fab and stuff, and you were like casting like almost all of them. So it means a lot to me that you would say something like this. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I am just some random schmuck, so don't even worry about it. You did this all on your own. So there it is. The cat's out of the bag in terms of world casting, which this kind of now puts you in a position because you just won the PTI in Portland. You beat the crap out of a whole lot of great players. Shut the hell up. You beat the crap out of them. Listen, when I played my PTI in Cleveland, I think it was, my PTI event, I beat Michael Hamilton. I beat Mara Faris a couple times. I beat some pretty good players. And I am absolutely going to pitch my tent on that hill for the rest of my life. So you need to basically do me the favor and tell me that these PTI events are big deals so that I feel good when I finish that event. Like, I lost in the finals, but still, tell us about that event and sort of cruising through it. And do you have what I have in these when I'm playing competitively, like where there's this sort of feeling where you might not be favored to win, but the stakes for you are not necessarily about winning the PTI. It's about maintaining or sort of bolstering a reputation so that when you are broadcasting, people are like, hey, that's the guy, and he's a pretty damn good player. We should trust what he says.
Yes, definitely. So I guess the sort of, I don't say niche because that's not too much, but at least the sort of identity I was trying to carve for myself as a caster was a caster who also plays the game competitively and has some measure of like success in competitive events and is able to perform when put on a field alongside all the big names. That was kind of like the identity I was trying to carve for myself. And yeah, so that PTI event definitely helped for that because I was because like I said, most of this year I've been doing a lot of casting. And I was starting to have those little nagging thoughts in the back of my head. I was like, damn, am I like washed up now? Am I like, can I still play the game? Because what I wanted to bring to people as I started casting was that level of analysis and that level of depth that pro players have, like as they are thinking of their lines and stuff. That was what I wanted to contribute to the casting scene. And so with that, yeah, playing and doing well at these competitive events is definitely very, very important to me on that front.
Well, it's important, I think, in general, not just to continue playing the game, obviously, but being able to demonstrate that you're not just a passenger, you're not just a spectator at the same regard. I try to play as much as possible. I like to, obviously consume a lot of high level and high caliber games. The fact that you're out there doing it is so impressive, and it gives us a good name. And like, there's the Tan and Grace always says this, where whenever one of us, from the broadcast community are like performing well in an event, he'll always say, it's like, oh, those casters, they don't know how to play the game, but like, here we are with results, and that's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. So I'm just gonna ride your coattails and be like, yeah, we're a team
awesome.
now. We're a team now,
yeah.
dude. So that's great. That's awesome. But the question now is, given the opportunity, is this something where did that inspire you enough? Like, it's obviously it put a lot of confidence in your back pocket, but how much of that now has kind of lifted you perhaps to the level of saying, shoot, should I just continue playing major events since I'm clearly good enough to win them? Like, is the EV on that the right way? Or are you just more enamored with the broadcast, the presentation side of competition?
So EV wasn't something I super was thinking about. I was just thinking of what I would enjoy doing more, and I think I enjoy casting. I really do enjoy casting. I mean, I feel like I ramble a lot. I have a lot of thoughts on the game, as it's happening, as on the game in general, and having a platform to like talk about it helps. I mean, it's kind of a big reason why I started content creation in the first place. Just have a platform for me to like talk about my thoughts. And go over play lines and stuff. I love doing that. And it's very, very exciting to do that for several different heroes, which is not something I get to experience when I'm playing the game. When I'm playing the game, I know my play lines. I'm playing my one hero, and I guess this draft. I'm playing my one hero, and obviously there's my opponent's play lines somewhat. But as a broadcaster, you get access to high-level games to talk about of several different heroes. You get to work with fun people like you and Sam and the rest of the broadcast team. It is was extremely fun, and I also feel I also get the fun of hanging out with all the friends I've made, like playing this game. Like, just the other people competing. I could name them, but I feel if I start naming them, I'm gonna miss some people, and I'm gonna feel bad about it. But if you're one of those people, always come say hi to at an event. You know who you are. So, yeah, I still get all that alongside casting, and it's just the idea of EV. I mean, I guess if you really want to practically look at it, I suppose casting maybe has a bit more EV, but that's not where the decision lay. It was that I just really enjoy doing it, and I will jump at opportunities to do more of that.
Look, the way that I say it is, no matter what happens, I feel like I top 16'd, or I top 8 at an event. Like, you walk away, you put in the same amount of work, if not, as everybody else at the tournament. You worked the same. You put more hours into the event while you were there, and you walked away with a paycheck that is, in certain cases more robust than others, and in certain cases wish it was more. But at the end of the day, like, the whole experience is like, I am feeling the same kind of tension, the same kind of draw of like these high stakes games without the agony of defeat, and I still get to walk away and pay my rent. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, and I guess just to touch on the how many hours we put into it. I feel it's probably going to be the same for you, but the way I prepare for these casting was like that. The way I was preparing for nationals, to cast nationals, was to prepare for it as if I was playing in it. So I was joining my locals in the testing sessions. I was showing up at draft armories because I had to learn Monarch draft, and I was doing it like twice a week. And then in the evening when we're doing CC playtesting sessions, I'm in the Discord like playing with my locals and stuff as if I was going to play in the event. Because we do put in as many hours as the players, especially like I said earlier, like that is this sort of caster I was trying to like strive to be, which is I am still trying to strive to be, is like someone who actually is intimately familiar with like the intricate play lines and like the macro game plans and stuff. So I felt like I had to do that to be that kind of caster. And yeah, just add on to your point of the amount of hours that we do put into this. We don't just show up on a day of event and then just like talk in the mic.
You're spot on there. There's gonna people are gonna just always want to shred you and sort of nitpick all your small little mistakes you might make, or miss a card or do this and whatnot. And I'm over arguing with that element of it, where it's like, it's day 3, you've worked 20 some odd hours over the span of the past 2 days, and you forget that you forgot that there was a sink below in their arsenal. Like, it's not the end of the world. But I'm with you. Like, when I started casting professionally, for me, the motivation obviously was, yes, to understand the game as in-depth and as completely as you possibly can, so you can convey those ideas and those strategies to as broadly an audience as you can, because you understand them. But part of it also was, and coming from Gwent, where their community was so ruthless and so awful in that capacity, I always made it my mission to try to be as highly ranked during any particular tournament I was casting, so that I can go back and when I'd get criticized for something, I can just go back to the leaderboard and I'm like, well, I'm ranked 82nd in the world. Like, where are you? And then they'd be like, well, yeah, exactly. So those are like, the motivation initially was spite, but now it's like, yes, being a legitimate and having that integrity is like part of it too.
Like, you're 82nd and the other 81 players are playing, so
that's what I said.
You're one of them.
Like, literally, like, these were like the events that you do were top 8. It was only top 8 brackets over 2 days, and I'd say, I'm like, look, I'm ranked 82nd in the world. 8 of the people are there. So which of the 73 other players between you and them are you? And it's like, oh, none? Well, then get bent. Like, that's kind of it. But this game is so massively complex. It's not a matter of you have your deck and they have theirs, and you effectuate your strategy and they effectuate theirs. It's a matter of, like, every deck that you bring will have a different game plan versus what your opponent is, for the most part. It's not just, I play my deck and I run it a certain way, and I might change a few things based on that. It's like, literally everything is in constant flux. The nuances are so precise, so intricate, and so abundant that unless you are putting in the hours and putting in the work ahead of a major tournament. So let me ask you this: for Nats, how many hours would you say you put in before you cast your first match?
How many hours? I can maybe give you like a weekly thing, and then you can just, I guess, multiply that by like, I don't know, I guess a full month before Nats. On week, so on average 2 drafts, so that's 2 to 3 hours, plus let's say how many hours of CC testing. As that varies week per week, definitely like leading towards Nats, like the entire weekend, like both days would be like filled up, but it's at least 10 on top of the draft practice, and then maybe to 15, and so let's just say 15 hours a week.
Right. And unpaid, unheard, like it's essentially unrecognized to a degree, but it's necessary. And what I want to do also is, commend you on that, because there are people who might take that kind of thing for granted, because if you didn't put in those hours, the broadcast would suffer. And that's something that I don't think anybody can really, shine that light and say, well, hey, Pankaj is kind of like lacking in here. You've been very well-rounded, and it shows, and that's important. So in my career, I have casted with unprepared people, and it's been difficult at times, because you're doing double duty, and you're kind of playing cleanup in IL3 whenever there's a spill, so to speak. So
I definitely had to stop my Baldur's Gate playthrough. Prepare for that.
Well, the tragedy. See, friends, this is why
it was hard.
Addiction is hard. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I guess I got defeated, which is a different addiction I have, which is Flesh and Blood. So kind of balanced on that front. But
hey, you're good, dude. You are definitely good. I want to just touch on one more element of competitive Flesh and Blood beforehand, and this is from our Patreon supporter Daniel Gutierrez. This is a very unique question, and this may have been brought up with I think Brian may have answered this to a degree, but what are your thoughts on a best 2 out of 3 scenario for exceptionally high stakes games? And if I were to, let's put it this way, if it was just for the world's top 8, best 2 out of 3, what are your thoughts on that?
Ooh. Wow.
Like, I mean, because
that
again,
is,
it leaves doubt on the ground, right? It just basically drops all doubt. If somebody wins a game, you can't say they drew poorly, they did this or whatever. It was a best 2 out of 3. You had at least 2 chances, 2 kicks at the can to figure things out. While you're thinking about it, I don't think that this is possible. And the reason why I don't think it's a good idea is because we already have 90-minute to 2-hour games in the finals in certain things, and if you're doing a best 2 out of 3, that'll stretch to way beyond that. Obviously, it could be a 4 to 6 hour affair, and nobody wants to see that for one round. The second element is that a best 2 out of 3 in a game like Magic, or in a game like in like Hearthstone or whatever, is that there will be certain elements of RNG, especially in Magic, with land-based things and non-games and just certain rock, paper, scissors matchups that are very difficult, where the sideboard becomes important. But those games also resolve in a very short order. So you can have a best 2 out of 3 that gets sorted within 60 minutes. I think that in Flesh and Blood, if you get like a Guardian control mirror that wraps up in 90 minutes, like, you're already ahead of the curve here. So trying to go 2 out of 3 in that capacity feels like just bad TV.
Yeah, so logistics, I mean, the first thing that came to mind was logistics, of course. I think on average, Flesh and Blood games are like, 30 or 40 minutes. So doing best 2 out of 3 for that will get really long. But even logistics aside, I guess let's just say if logistics were like fine, I don't know, somehow they figured it out. There's a time machine, they can forward the games or something. I guess my main thing, which I'm questioning, is the necessity of it. So you brought up RNG and non-games and in different other other TCGs like Magic. I think in Flesh and Blood though, there are a lot fewer straight up non-games. I think like the aggro mirrors, like you take a fire mirror in a sense, and then that's like one of the few matchups where you could straight up just have a non-game because 1/5 saw the double Art of War or something, and if I couldn't do anything. But I think most matchups in Flesh and Blood don't quite have that level. And I think in most matchups, you can pretty much safely say that most of the time you can say that the player that played better did win that game. So coming back to the idea of necessity, I think best out of two, so your 2 out of 3 best out of 3 result is only going to differ from your best out of 1 result in very, very few cases. Like very rarely is that best 2 out of 3 gonna be different than if they just you just took a result of the first game. That I just question the necessity of it, and then once you add that on to like the actual logistics of it, it feels like, at least right now where we end the game, with with a lot of confidence you can say that the player that played better won the game. Probably not right now. Yeah,
I agree. And part of that is also selfish. To like to get out at I don't need an extra day.
I mean, yeah. I mean, but that's especially, yeah, I mean, when you talk about the control mirror, like a lot of times, I mean, a Guardian mirror, you don't need best 2 out of 3. Like typically the Guardian that won the game 1 is the better Guardian. Like, a lot of times that's the case. Or the Guardian draw my mirror, draw my matchup as well. A lot of times, yeah, the player that won is the better player. Like you don't even do another one of those to figure that out.
God, no. And if I ever had to do it, I would just be like, geez, okay, I'll scoop the first, you scoop the second. Let's just play one more. Like I do not want to do this. So let's move real quick here to the Bright Lights new expansion, and we can just sort of gloss over it. It's been talked about ad nauseum in terms of it being a class specific set, etc. We don't need to dig into the ramifications of that. Let's just talk about your first impressions now that essentially all of the cards more or less have been spoiled. The new Teklovosin sort of mech suit is out there, and it looks crazy. What are your thoughts on Bright Lights, your bird's eye view kind of evaluation of it?
The first thing, and this is very, very personal, I'm straight up shocked and kind of really want to commend LSS for how much I care about this set. Because when they first announced that Bright Lights was a mech only set, like I'm someone I've never cared about mech. Like every time I'm in like fantasy sort of setting, I tend to like the spellcaster type heroes, type strategies. So I hear mech and I was like, that is the most boring thing ever. Now with the set completely spoiled, I'm suddenly brewing like every single deck. I'm brewing Teklovosin, I'm brewing New Dash, I'm brewing Max, and I'm just shocked that I am here given how much I thought that the flavor of mech would be something that I never really relate to, I never really care for. So just the fact that I'm doing that, like, I'm just shocked at myself that I'm really excited for the set, and I really want to put these brews to the test and like play with it. And I guess pulling that curtain slightly. So obviously Talasha doesn't have all the new cards coded up yet because obviously it's going to take a long time, and it's a community project and everything. Like it's amazing the cards will even eventually get coded up. But in that meantime, me and my locals want to play with this so much that we've been playing it on TTS, where you don't even have the images in the cards. It's basically it's a blank card, and you need to hover over it to see the name of the card to know what you're holding in your hand. And we're still just playing with that just because we just want to get our hands on it and just start putting our theories to the test and just seeing how these heroes work. And it's, in short, to answer your question, I'm really excited.
I tend to agree, and like this is the thing about it. I'm the same as you. I don't think I've really ever played Mechanologist. I think I've played Mechanologist once in my life, and I was like, all right. I've played against enough of it where I'd left a bad taste. As a Guardian control player, running into like a pistol control dash is like the worst thing ever. It's such a feels bad kind of a matchup, but that kind of turned me off from the set. And kudos to James, kudos to Brian, because you're right. Like when it was announced, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be a bunch of boosty stuff. There's going to be some items. Who gives a crap? Like, but the way that they've implemented these new heroes, the new systems, the new items, keywords, and all this kind of stuff, it's very fascinating, and I'm all for it because we got that with like Vinset feeling and like the new Prism and the Figments, etc. And I'm like, okay, there's some really interesting lines that they're taking here, and I will happily say that and confidently say that this is not a set that I'm really all that hyped about from the capacity of playing the heroes, but I'm hyped about it because of like what you said, how they were able to take 10% of the canvas and make it so intriguing and so make it pop, as it were, make it unique, whereas the other 90% of all the other heroes and talents are not getting looked at, and that's fine. But what they've kind of just taken, they've taken it for a ride, and I'm all for it. So I think I should just share that with you.
It's also just incredibly thematic, and I have to say this shocks me a lot. Like every time new stuff comes out in Flesh and Blood, I'm just like, wait, how did they make it this thematic? How is it that these different heroes play so differently in the same game system, and yet they are so incredibly thematic with what you expect them to be? Like wizards play incredibly differently from mech, but it's in the same game system and it's so thematic, right? It's like, yeah, the wizards doing instant speed stuff on your turn, killing you in your turn, kind of thing. It makes, and they're throwing spells at you, and then these mechs, they're building up, they're like making the items work together, like crank. Like it really feels like they're actually just on the fly, like on the battlefield, just like trying to like build together this random machine or whatever, this random armor piece, and they're gonna like try and kill you with that. And it's so incredibly thematic. I can't get over how often I'm just like, I don't get how they keep making such thematic feels with like all the heroes.
What I like to hear from them as well is something that I think that we are also getting, those who have been so intimately linked with LSS for over the past couple of years and seen how the company has progressed, not necessarily the game, but just the company itself. What Brian said on last week's episode, where he's like, hey, we're finally ahead of the curve. We're finally caught up, and we're finally, where we want to be in terms of ahead of schedule or on schedule in their, I guess it's in their eyes, of like, we're working on stuff that's 3 sets down the line. Like next set is already, shipped and done. The other set after that is like getting the final touches, and we're in the development process of like 3 sets from now. So that's also a PSA to everybody who's like, in the next set, you better do X, Y, Z. Well, the next set's already printed and it's already at the printer. So that ain't happening. But what I like is that now you're seeing a little bit of that coming back where they are so far ahead. So now we're seeing collaborations with like the Roundtable project, the statues, the merchandise that we're going to see now coming at Worlds, the new format like Living Legend that they're establishing, the uniqueness and really the flavor of the sets that they're putting through. So on a confidence level for yourself to evaluate LSS, and everybody's going to have their own opinion. Obviously, this is very subjective. What's your confidence level for LSS and Flesh and Blood from the capacity of expanding on the game in a unique way without having to sort of jump the shark with overpowered stuff? How do you feel in terms of like that 2 or 3 year plan?
Absolutely, mass. I'm not sure if I can put a number to it. I can just say I'm very, very confident. I mean, you can already see with the direction they're going, right? They are recognizing that the earlier stuff like Chains and Starvos and Old Prism and stuff were like way too strong. You can already see them recognizing that and depowering the new stuff that's coming out. But it is still incredibly interesting, and we just sort of need to, wait a little bit until all of the old guard is gone. And then I'm super confident that we're gonna, I feel very, very assured that we're gonna have a very, very exciting, dynamic format that once the high-powered stuff is gone, we won't feel like it's low-powered anymore, because that is just the average power level. So I'm pretty confident we're gonna have like amazing, very, very healthy, average power, dynamic gameplay.
I love it. We're going to get through a few of the submitted questions before we get to our Patreon Tier 3 exclusive, which I didn't prepare you for. But we'll get there when we get there. But for now...
Yeah, I'm not prepared for go against stuff anyway. Like every time any opponent does go against me, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, hey, you're supposed to calm yourself.
Exactly. I'm a wizard. I send you one thing. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So you say one thing. Get bent, you Icelander bastard. Shuggy Time asks for you a plethora of questions, but somebody who is a big fan of the show and a fan of yours as well, asking, I really like your content. Any plans to resume making it again? And this goes back to the fact that time is a fleeting thing that we have in scarce amounts. So how do you approach that?
Well, maybe if I ever make the jump like you did to full-time content creation, then yes, maybe then. Until then, there's no plans in the work. So right now it's really just okay, if I have an idea of some random video, I'll do it. Like most recently, I did a deck tech just because I got a bunch of questions about the PTI list. So I did a deck tech. I was like, instead of replying to every single DM with the answers, like let me just do it. I thought it was going to be a quick deck tech. I ended up rambling, as I always do. Did that. So it'll be mostly in line with that sort of stuff, where if I just randomly get an idea of something I really want to do, or I get a bunch of questions about a particular concept or something, then I'd probably make a video. But other than that, I don't have any concrete plans because, yeah, as you said, time is a bit of a constraint.
So there's a follow-up here also asking when Icelander eventually rotates, when are you going to land on?
Yeah, so I've already started thinking about that. Most recently, there was a local event. I brought Kodachi Fi to it. I wanted to try that out. I have to say, part of that is I really hate Dromai. Like I really don't want to lose to that deck. So it wasn't so much, oh yeah, I like really want to go to Ninja or something. I was just like, I just want to stop bringing a deck that loses to Dromai. So here we go. I'm not in Kodachi Fi. But I guess what really speaks to me is Kano, which I guess, it was the hero I started the game with. Obviously started the game with Blitz, and then I was like, this is it. I'm playing the Spellcaster. Like I have to. Kano, loved it. My first CC deck was Kano. First CC deck I started taking to ProQuest and stuff was Viscerai, but my first deck that I built in Flesh and Blood was Kano. So that's ideally that's like where I'd want to be, but Kano's kind of iffy. Doesn't have quite the same sort of stability that Icelander does. So Kano, Kodachi Fi. Vinset's looking pretty cool, actually. One of my locals has this build of Vinset that is actually doing pretty well, and it also looks cool that I get to also go back to my Runeblade roots. So I think as a concept, in terms of flavor, Wizards and Runeblades are where I really relate to both those archetypes, I suppose, and the flavors of both of them. So yeah, I'd say there.
Alrighty. I don't know the context of this next one, so you'll have to fill me in on this as well. But Table and Legs asks, when is the next hit song?
Oh, wait, you don't know this context?
I possibly don't. And again, forgive me because even though my presence on the internet may seem very abundant, I am usually very checked out of most things. But
got it. Okay. Right. Well, I made a YouTube video called "We Don't Talk About Starvo." It's a parody video. Have you
this
heard...
does ring a bell. Yes.
Yeah,
Go on.
Yeah. Have you watched the musical Encanto?
No, I have not. That is the Disney animated one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a song in there called "We Don't Talk About Bruno," and I just made a parody version of that. I called it "We Don't Talk About Starvo." Because Starvo was, what Starvo was.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So I made a parody video of that, so I guess that's what this is in context to. And I have so many ideas. I have so many ideas for other parodies that I could do. But yeah, again, I mean, that one in particular, like that sort of video takes so long, and I've already spoke about how time is a lot hard to come by. But yeah, like that video, for example. How long did that take me? That was it was over my Christmas break. So, that was one of the few times I actually wasn't back home in Singapore. I was just here. So, I had time on my hands because I was just here. And it took me 6 full days, more than working days to actually shoot everything and edit everything. I'm talking I'm starting at 10 a.m. in the morning and then I'm finishing at 7 or 8 p.m. at night to shoot the stuff and edit it into the way I wanted to. So that kind of video, it was obviously a lot of fun to make, and I'm quite proud that I managed to make something like that and put it out there. But it does require a lot of time and effort. So yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of ideas. So it really, I don't have a concrete answer for when it's gonna be. What I can say is I have ideas, and so when I get a chunk of time on my hands, then yeah, I can be fairly certain I'll be working on something like that because I do find them really, really fun.
The abundance of songs that have the word sexy in the title that you could just exchange for Lexi, like I'm bringing Lexi back, or I'm too Lexi for my whatever. There's so many that you can
There's
do.
so many.
So
one of my ideas actually for Bright Lights was I'll make a mech out of you.
Oh,
Mulan's I'll make
from
a man.
Mulan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I do like Disney. I'm a bit of a Disney fan. So I have a like musicals playlist on Spotify. There's a whole bunch of Disney songs I really like,
Sure.
and my brain is kind of constantly thinking about Flesh and Blood. So the lyrics kind of just end up writing themselves, and the ideas just like come to me. Like we don't talk about Star Wars. Honestly, it was mostly written on like my car ride because I'm listening to my playlist, and we don't talk about Bruno's playing, and I'm thinking about Star Wars. So it's just writing itself.
Perfect.
And so I just get a bunch of these ideas, and yeah.
Mulan, that song, Make a Man Out of You, is actually Brendan Patrick's favorite Disney song.
It's a good song.
It is,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a good
It's in
song.
my playlist.
I'm going to ask you this then, because my favorite Disney movie is Hercules. So I need you to power rank Hercules. Like, if you were to give it sort of maybe not a power ranking in the scope of all Disney movies, but like a rank on 10, what would you rank Hercules? You have to be honest. Our friendship is
Hercules.
you piece of
Being
garbage.
honest,
That was the
I haven't watched
only
Hercules.
wrong answer. That was it. You're the worst. Freaking Spank Dog 2000,
right.
my ass. Get out of here.
All right. Cancel this episode. I guess you're gonna need to find a new guest. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. This is gonna be a week off for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I guess we'll just mosey on past that. That's your homework, man. Listen, if we get to Barcelona and you have not watched Hercules, I will not speak to you.
Wait. Why don't we watch it in Barcelona? Like, I
Sold.
don't know how long you're staying after Worlds, but I'm towards down to like a drinking game Hercules sort of thing.
Oh my god! Well, I arrive on the
Right.
I arrive on the Monday morning, the week before. I think I leave the
yeah.
I leave the day after.
We can
I
do it
leave-
before as well.
Yeah, so we can definitely
Yeah.
do it before.
I'll be there early too. Yeah. I'm towards down for that.
Oh,
Disney drinking games. I mean, obviously you heard about my whole Aladdin thing, but I love Disney drinking games. It's so fun. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
I'm totally down for that. Yes.
whoever's out there that's listening to this that will be in Barcelona, maybe we should just get together and do like a hotel lobby viewing session of Hercules, or in a room or whatever, and yeah, we'll make it exciting because you need to watch this freaking movie, Mister.
Yeah.
I'm a Disney fan,
Yeah.
but I haven't watched the greatest thing Disney's produced in the past 30 years. So
I mean,
Whatever.
Frozen came out in the
Frozen
past
was
30 years.
complete garbage. Don't even start with me. Frozen.
What?
Frozen
No.
was excessively mid-tier, okay? And I'm gonna catch so much heat off this, but I tell you, sorry, the
You should.
only movie that was further from the hype of it was Finding Nemo. Okay, Finding Nemo was an okay, good movie. It was all right, but people who are coming at you thinking that Finding Nemo was this life-changing experience, like get bent. That's not the truth. Hercules, however,
Exactly. That's not. It's Frozen.
agree to disagree, Pankaj. One more question from the community before we get into the Patreon Tier 3 exclusive content. It's going to be from Sigma or Das asking, what's your second favorite class to play and why? And this might allude to what are you going to play once Icelander rotates. I'm guessing now it's Runeblade, but do you have a specific Runeblade?
And I mean, I kind of miss back in the day Viscerai. That was really fun. Obviously, it was broken beyond belief. I mean, I'm not advocating for Skeletor to come back. But I mean, I would say like the decks I've had the most fun with was OG Viscerai, Belittle Briar, Belittle Corsham Briar specifically, just because it wasn't great, but it was so fun just because Corsham triggers twice on Belittle, and I just loved that was the case. And of course, Belittle Briar was so fun. I mean, I think if my deck can utilize Spellbound Creepers very effectively, and I guess here's where you see like my wizard roots really coming in. I want to do instant speed things. So, Creepers let you do instant speed things. Your non-attacks are instants. So, both those decks, OG Viscerai, Belittle Briar, use Creepers very, very effectively. And that was a big draw to me. Vincent doesn't quite do that. So, when you say, I want to say Runeblade as like the class after Wizard that really speaks to me. You say specific Runeblade, and Vincent's not quite there. Briar's obviously gone now, and Viscerai is a shell of what it used to be, because he also doesn't have a weapon right now, so it's a little frustrating on that front. So my answer to that question would be Runeblade, but there's no Runeblade right now which speaks to me the same way that Belittle Briar and OG Viscerai did. So it's really likely it's going to be Kano or Kodachi 5, because I just want to beat up on the Drone Eyes.
Hate is a powerful motivator. Just ask Darth Vader. Thank you so much for that. We're going to talk a little bit about casting and getting into the broadcast booth. I get asked this a lot, very common. It's one of the most common questions that people want to know is how to get into the business, how to make the transition, and how to balance it and hone that craft. So if you're a Patreon tier 3 supporter, you can get this content over there with Pankaj, who will inform you on how to make that transition, as it were. But you got to go to patreon.com/instantspeed and become a Patreon supporter. For as little as $2 a month, you can say, hey, Flake, here's some ramen noodles for you, and I will gladly eat those up. You must have eaten your...
Some homemade chili.
Oh, dude. Fact, guess what I'm making tomorrow? Tomorrow's a chili day, baby. Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yes, I put
and
in
my... your massive pot of chili that lasts you like the whole week?
It is that. It's exactly that.
Nice.
It's great on day 1. It's wholesome and comforting on day 2. On day 3, you're like, well, okay, like I got to do something with this. So you eat it to the capacity where it'll fit into whatever container that you can put it in the freezer. So you're probably tired of it by then. Yeah, but...
Okay.
Damn,
you freeze the chili, and then I guess you have it again.
I'll have it again like the next week or something like that. Yeah. You pull it out and you thaw it out, and it's like, again, you just boil it to death, and it tastes like it's fine. I mean, I put enough spice in there that nothing survives, so it's good. All right,
I'm so excited to try chili one day.
Well, hey, I am here in Toronto. I have housed other out-of-towners before. Ethan spent a weekend here for when he was doing Canadian Nets, so he will tell you that I think I like to think of myself as a nice, gracious host. So you're more than welcome, and I will make chili. I do not need an excuse, man. You just got to say, like, this is what I want, and I'll do it. So. Mm-hmm. Are you a spicy type of person? Like, do you like...
Yes.
Well, I mean, you're Indian, right? So, yeah.
I do like spicy. And I'm also from Singapore, so it's kind of like, it's got both.
Oh, right. Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, yes. Like, that part of the world, okay, first of all, that part of the world and their level of spice, the only thing that I'll go into a restaurant and I like spicy food, and they're like, okay, white boy, like, chill out. We know your level of spice. I'm like, no, give me a authentic level of spice. And the only two that have ever... just kind of done it the way that I was like, damn, that's spicy, was it was at an authentic Thai restaurant in some nook and cranny in downtown Toronto. And the other time was my Jamaican friend made his own jerk chicken, and and he's like, he's like, I don't know if you can handle this. I'm like, bitch, please. Like, I got this. Don't worry about it. And he's like, okay, because this is like the real deal. And I ate it. I was like, this is so good. Like, it was great. But I didn't ask for seconds because he kicked my ass with it. But that's the way to go. All right. So there you go. That is your Patreon Tier 3 exclusive. If you missed it, well, you can check it out. Patreon.com/instantspeed. Because Pankaj is a very articulate and very well-expressed individual, so you missed out on that if you didn't get it. But, my man, I genuinely root for your success, whether you need it or not. You've been incredibly impactful in this past year within the Flesh and Blood scene to the benefit of so many, and your fanfare just continues to grow, so... At some point, I'm going to have to be speaking to your agent and not directly to you.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. But thanks again so much for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. hang out and chat with you for a bit. It was
Damn
awesome.
right. Damn right. Well, we got a Hercules-related Disney drinking game happening in Barcelona that we're going to have to figure out at some point. But, my man, I do want to just say, again, thank you so much for doing the Instant Speed podcast, man. And where can we get more EthnicSmoke content or reach out to you and all that jam?
So coming to Barcelona, I'll be on the casting team. So I'd say that's like the next definitely planned, I guess, EthnicSmoke content. Twitter would be another one. Like, every now and then I'll tweet something. I prefer like tweet out memes and stuff. That's, I guess, what I do instead of like tweeting like actual like thoughts about the game. I just don't think that's a very good platform to like have serious discussions about the game. But I'm always willing to like talk on Discord. You can message me on Discord, or DM me on Twitter, something like that, if you do want to get into those sort of discussions.
Beautiful. Well, there you have it. That is Pankaj, a.k.a. EthnicSmoke. He's going to be on the broadcast team in Barcelona, putting up with my BS. Sucks to be you, buddy, but...
Looking forward to it.
As am I. Definitely. I'm hoping that you and I actually get some reps together, because that's the real test, is when I pull out a Backstreet Boys reference from 1998.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so good
Yeah.
luck. But again, thank you very much to our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards. You can go to kayfabecards.com. Be who you want to be at Kayfabe Cards, but you can't be SpankDog 2000 because that is already taken. However, there are other options. You can also check us out on Patreon, to our supporters from Patreon. Thank you very much again for all your support. Patreon.com/InstantSpeed if you want to support us. And just in general, I want to remind everyone as well that episode 100 of Instant Speed Podcast will air in a week, so do not miss it. If you would like to contribute to episode 100, it's a Q&A episode, so all you've got to do, whoever you are out there, yes, you, random listener 58, you can email instantspeedpodcast@gmail.com with a 30-second or less Q&A style video. Ask me anything about games, life, love, everything in between. I just want to have a chat and answer all your queries, so make sure you get those in. And signing off now. Don't forget, you're not losing if you're learning. We'll see you next time on ISP 100. ISP 100 next week. Sounds good. Adios.
Well, I work hard. How come everybody wants to shuffle my cards? And I think that it's true. There's nothing of importance on the 6 o'clock news, and I believe